May I come in, sir?
Yes, come.
Good morning, sir. Morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning.
Good morning, sirs.
Have a seat, Vaishali.
Thank you, sir.
So, Vaishali, as I can see, you are from Delhi,
Yes, sir.
and your optional is mathematics,
Yes,
and BSc honors also mathematics.
yes, sir.
Very fond of mathematics. Scored many prizes also, I think, in
Right,
mathematics.
sir.
You worked. You are still working in DRDO, or you have worked there for some time?
Yes, sir. I'm continually.
Continuing there. Okay. And you have submitted a paper on application of mathematics.
Right, sir.
And energy conservation is also an area which interests you.
Right, sir. I participated in National Science Congress
Okay.
on the theme of energy conservation.
And you have been a team leader and also community radio. So do you give programs on the community radio? Talk about some of the issues.
Right, sir. While I was in the third year of my graduation, we had a program from the mathematics department in which we actually shot 2 shows on topics of mathematics, and I was an organizing member in that team.
Okay, all right. And fitness exercises at home. Mindfulness journaling. What is mindfulness journaling?
Sir,
Meditation, I have heard mindfulness meditation, but mindfulness journaling, what exactly is this?
Sir, that is actually my preview level DAF. In the actual DAF, I have replaced that with reflective writing.
Reflective writing. Okay, all right. Your preferences are IAS, IFS, income tax, customs, and then police service. Okay, so if I ask you a question like what mathematics has given to the mankind, 3 things in a order of priority, the most important things which mathematics has given to the mankind.
Yes, sir. First thing which is I can recall is the number system which originated from mathematics, which allowed us to count, and also the way we analyze things in a computational way is mathematical. Second thing is the art of problem solving in a structured and a stepwise manner. Mathematical thinking inculcates the behavior of thinking about the problem in chunks and then going in an algorithmic way to approach that problem. And the third thing is precision and accuracy that entails mathematics as its foundational value, because in mathematics we are not having subjective ideas, we are having objective fundamental tools that help us calculate things and also infer things from them.
So, do you think that mathematics is going to be very, very helpful to you in the civil services with these fundamental things, analytical ability and problem solving and power of reasoning? You think that it will be helpful to you? Okay, so people are nowadays talking about manipulative marketing. Can you tell us what manipulative marketing is and which are the most day-to-day things where we find this manipulative marketing?
Sir, can I take a few seconds?
Yes, sure. All of us are subject to this manipulative marketing. Men, women alike, both of them.
So the first example of manipulating marketing that comes to my mind is in advertising sector.
Yes.
Because various false hopes are instilled in the minds of people, which are not backed by facts, but through false opinions. And for example, in the weight loss industry, we have advertising like take this pill and you will be having 10 kg weight loss in some 10 days or so. So these things are some...
Or for hair loss.
Yes, sir, definitely, sir.
Yeah, so manipulative marketing, absolutely correct. Now, one or two other things which I wanted to ask you is what is the role of unofficial actors in policy making process? So, can you identify some of the unofficial actors? You would be taking help of these unofficial actors in your civil service also.
Yes, sir, definitely. Unofficial actors are actually guiding policy making by providing inputs, survey data, and also some research inputs as well. For example, from NGOs, I can take the example of the Pratham NGO, which conducts the annual survey of education, and it is very helpful in chalking out a plan for education policy of India. And in the political domain, I can think of the Lokniti surveys, which are very helpful in electoral opinion and also statistical analysis. And coming to the startups ecosystem, there are also very technological innovations that are helping in administration and also in governance domain. For example, we are having usage of drones in e-commerce, also in defense, security, which are actually starting in startups ecosystem as well.
Okay. My last question to you would be that do you think that organ donation should be made compulsory?
So if I go by the idea of organ donation and the philosophy behind it, it's a commendable step. But making it compulsory is like infringing upon the fundamental right of bodily integrity of a person, which is given to everyone under the Constitution under the Article 21. And also Supreme Court has said that right to life is also there in the light of right to die with dignity. So if a person is willingly able to sign a contract prior to their death, that is fine, but making it mandatory will be like a forceful act.
Okay. Very good.
Vaishali, diverse experience, DRDO, courts, NCERT.
Yes,
So where does that lead you to? To the final conclusion, this is your 5th attempt, that this is where you want to be?
yes, ma'am. This has been
What
my
drives
dream.
you?
My major drive from all my job experiences and also from my education qualification is to be a part of the governance system of India, and also the ability to use my potential to the fullest by being a part of a leadership position and also to work in
So
challenging
when you
sectors.
were, working in these diverse areas, what did you gain anything towards your final goal? What was the gain?
Yes, ma'am. There were a plethora of gains that I have, in course of my jobs, I have experienced. For example, in NCERT, I was a part of the scholarship disbursement team in which I learned
Gain.
public.
Quick gains, just the gains.
Yes, ma'am. First is organizational management and the skills which are needed to work for participatory governance. Second is the technological know-how from my current job in DRDO. Third is the interpersonal and the communication skills that are needed for public interaction as well. And the fourth is,
So what was your role in Tisazari courts?
ma'am, I was a junior judicial assistant there. I was assisting the office management and the file management work in the back end of the courts management.
All right. Now, community radio is one of your interests. What is the message or what is the purpose of Man Ki Baat, which was started by the Prime Minister once he took over? Which was in 2014, I think, October 2014, he started this.
Yes, ma'am. The first major outcome of Man Ki Baat was right information dissemination to the people of India, so that people really know what is the idea of governance in India, and also sharing some stories and sharing some inspirational thoughts that will drive people to actually pursue what they want.
Okay, so the first I've told you was October 2014. And when was the last episode of Man Ki Baat?
Sorry, ma'am, I'm not able to recall that.
Okay, read on that. 0, is it a number or a value? A symbol or a value?
Ma'am, I can't choose one out of them because it instills value with numbers and it is also a number.
Okay, my last question on your reflective writing. Do you do it manually, hard way, or do you do it in a soft manner?
Ma'am, I do it in hard copy form.
You do it in hard copy. Can you think of any world famous diary writer?
Right now, I'm able to recall Annie Frank, the
Okay.
diary of Annie Frank.
Okay, that's one which everybody talks about. Is there any other? The French Revolution? There was a very famous character.
Sorry, ma'am. I'm
No?
unable
Okay.
to recall.
Thank you, Vaishali.
Vaishali, which are the most important articles of the Constitution which really epitomize the spirit and soul of the Indian Constitution? According to you, in your view?
So, do I have to list them in some
No,
priority?
you choose. No problem.
If I have to choose one, that would be Article 32, the right to constitutional remedies, because this is the article which gives rise to the writ petition in India. And stemming from the writ petition, there are various constitutional reforms, and also with changing social dynamics, various new interpretations of constitution have been made. For example, if we talk of the striking down of section 377 to the right to privacy judgment of Article 21, all have started their journey because they derive the power from the Article 32, that is the right to constitutional remedies.
Okay. And which is the next? Which are the next, or which is the next?
So next, I can think of the universal adult franchise, the Article 326, which doesn't discriminate amongst any people of India for their right to vote. And India has been a quite early riser in that case because since independence we have got this right without any discrimination. And even in United States of America, the universal adult franchise came very late.
Okay, very well. Old pension scheme and new pension scheme. Now, these two terms have been in news constantly. Do you feel that restoration of old pension scheme will be a viable solution or a viable idea?
So as per the fiscal prudence, I do not believe that the old pension scheme restoration will be a viable idea. Also, what I have seen in newspapers and in various reports, that the new pension scheme is portrayed in a very bad light. There is a lot of wrong publicity that is being made about new pension scheme, that it is not at all a financial security for the government servants. But since there are a lot of changes happening in the new pension scheme, for example, there is an initiative of minimum assured return scheme that is being started in the new pension scheme, in which there will be a balance of debt and equity in the new pension scheme. So people will not be having doubts about their retirement because there will be some assured returns, and also the government will increase the contribution. It is now 14%. And it will continuously rise as well. The government has been thinking about that. So, new pension scheme is not a bad idea in my opinion. Also regarding the fact that reverting to old pension scheme will be a very fiscally drastic step for the government.
But you have a situation where a class of citizens are getting a pension for each term for 5 years only, for serving only 5 years. And on the other hand, the government servants who will be serving between 30 to 35 years will be, deprived of the pension. Do you feel this is a fair arrangement?
So even after serving for 30 years, nobody will be deprived because there will be a corpus of funds at the end of their service.
Okay, if I lay emphasis on the first part of the question, then is it a fair arrangement that somebody should be entitled for pension only after 5 years?
Ideally, this should not be right, but for a certain corpus to accumulate, certain years of service is necessary.
Okay. What were the compulsions for setting up the Bretton Woods institutions?
First,
What are those institutions, firstly?
so the Bretton Woods institutions started in 1945 from the World Bank and the IMF.
Okay.
And the idea was to increase the financial access of the nations. Also, there was a case of the post-World War recovery that was happening in that time, in which the economic crisis of the nations demanded a need of a pan-global institution that provided access to the finance for redevelopment and also in poverty alleviation as well.
Okay, thank you.
Vaishali, you are working in DRDO.
Yes, sir.
DRDO's contribution to military technology is very well known, especially in the field of missile technology. We had missile Agni 5 recently.
Agni 5.
It's really commendable. So tell me one thing, why Odisha is chosen as the sole missile launching station? Why not elsewhere? Why not Visakhapatnam or any other coastal state? Is there any strategic reason behind it? Any geographical location?
Though, sir, I don't have the exact idea, but I got to know about a story of Dr. Kalam in DRDO that he wanted to choose an island which was uninhabited in nature.
Oh.
Because missile testing range had also some sensitive connotations associated with them, and also he wanted for the security reasons it had to be an uninhabited island, and therefore Wheeler Island was chosen by them by doing some surveys there.
Is there any exercise done by the government of India before launching a missile? Because when it falls, the debris will fall anywhere to any country. Are any precautions taken by the government of India in announcing to the world, to the neighboring countries, that we are about to launch a missile? Please be cautious.
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of.
Don't worry.
This.
You are staying in Yamuna Vihar. Huh?
Yes, sir.
How far is Yamuna River from Yamuna Vihar?
Sir, it is around 4 to 5 kilometers.
Okay. What are the reasons for the pollution of Yamuna River in Delhi? Just give me one or two reasons.
So, since Yamuna is not restricted to Delhi only, it receives water from many states. So, there are a lot of industrial effluents that are being discharged in Yamuna. Second is the lack of sewage treatment facilities. Various sewage treatment plants in Delhi are not running at the 100% capacity. So, that's the second reason. And third is the illegal encroachments. Various Yamuna's ghats are being used by the people in an unauthorized manner, that is leading to the pollution.
Another reason which I know of is the industrial pollutants, effluents,
Yes, sir.
which go unchecked into the river, and nobody is bothered about it. Even though there is a heavy penalty, but nobody imposes the penalty on the private firms, private chemical firms.
Sir, Yamuna River has a lot of inlets. There are inspection and checks being made in the industrial effluents, but since the implementation part is not up to the marks, so we can say that there is laxity in implementation of the inspection that is being done in the Yamuna River.
Okay. you are a mathematician by your profession and training. Statistics is a subset of mathematics. What are the use of statistics in the formulation of government policies?
So the statistics, first of all, stems from data analysis. So in every government policy, we begin with collecting large amount of data sets from surveys. And after collecting those surveys, various tools are there in statistics like interpolation, correlation, and also regression analysis, in which we build interlinkages among these data
How
sets.
do we collect data? You said survey.
Yes, sir.
What is a survey and census? Are they same thing? Survey includes a very small quantum of population. Can we say that the data collected is authentic?
So usually surveys are conducted in a sample size form, and the samples are taken from diverse set of communities, but it is not a holistic way, I could say.
I get you. One last question. There was a slogan given by the present government CEO that we should have one police and one uniform throughout the country. At present, we are having different kind of uniforms, and UP police is having one, Delhi police is another person. So what is the use of having a one police, one uniform? Is this idea rational? Because a lot of opposition has come from the state governments.
Yes, sir. I think the idea is connected to the fact that various institutions are having same uniform. For example, Kendriya Vidyalayas. In every part of India, they are having same uniform. So I can say that that would be a prudent idea, because it will be...
No, Kendriya Vidyalaya is one thing, educational. But I am talking with police, UP police, Assam police, Bihar police. They are having different caps, different color of, shirts and coats and all that. Why should we have a uniform?
So there are various insignias also on the
Do you
uniforms.
recommend that the bureaucracy, the civil service also should have a uniform dress code to instill a sense of discipline?
So regarding the dress code, there is a convention of formal dress code for bureaucrats, but for a uniform rule of bureaucrats...
I'm talking of dress code.
So definitely dress code is mandatory for a civil servant, because...
It is mandatory or it should be mandatory?
I think it should be mandatory.
Thank you.
Right, Vaishali, DRDO, there is great success stories of missile and space work, but there are great failure stories as far as related to military weapon systems. The DRDO programs take long time, 30 years, 40 years, and invariably the user is not satisfied. So what lessons do you draw from those aspects or experiences of DRDO to be a more efficient policy formulator civil servant?
Yes, sir.
Are there lessons firstly in that?
Yes, sir,
So
definitely.
what lessons do you think are there?
Even CAG has highlighted that the DRDO's projects are never completed in time, but there are various reasons behind that delays. For example, the lack of coordination between DRDO labs, academia, and also startups is being channelized so that these delays can be minimized, because...
So that's the reason. So what is the lesson?
Sir, the lesson is to increase the participation in the projects of DRDO, various other
I'm talking
stakeholders
of
as
lesson
well.
when you become a civil servant, you become a IAS officer. What lessons will you derive from here in policy formulation? What will be the policy generally? You have brought it out yourself. You're not integrating all the stakeholders, and therefore you get stuck somewhere, because then you realize, I've taken this policy, it doesn't suit him. So lesson one is
Take various stakeholders together.
stakeholders. What else?
Sir, second is the hierarchy of decision making, which often leads to delay in the project completion. More say of the technical experts is needed in the upper channel of the technological organizations. There is also recommendation of a Defense Technological Commission by the P. Ramarao Committee, which says that as the Department of Space and the Department of Atomic Energy are having independent boards, DRDO should have an independent Defense Technological Commission for fast tracking the decision making.
So what is the lesson? I'm asking for lessons from
Yes,
your
sir.
experience.
So
yeah.
the lesson will be to include the technical experts in the decision making while being a civil servant as well, to have better say and better hierarchy.
Okay, good. What is China's main concern with Afghanistan? Why is it so much worried about with Afghanistan, with what has after the America has withdrawn from Afghanistan? What is the one major worry of China with respect to Afghanistan?
So the first worry I can think of is the BRI project, which is also passing through Afghanistan. So China is having its policy.
BRI is passing through Afghanistan as of today?
So
No,
it was
not as of today. It might in future.
quite in future.
Okay. Is that the CPAC which is passing through Pakistan gets threatened from what happens in Afghanistan? Yes, that's correct. What else?
So second is also the security implications which are related in Afghanistan after the Taliban regime.
Security related to what?
Security related to China's sovereignty as well.
Does Afghanistan have a common border with China?
Yes, sir.
What is that area called?
So I'm not.
Okay, it's called Wakhan Corridor. It's an area that's adjacent to Xinjiang province. That is where the Uyghur problem is, right?
Yes.
And finally, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Pakistan felt that now the Taliban is in power, everything is honky-dory for them, but that honeymoon is over. So what are the friction points between Pakistan and Afghanistan now?
So the major friction point is the Pakhtun province issue, because right now the border dispute is the major bone of contention between Pakistan and Afghanistan. That is also leading to various social unrest there.
Good. Now tell me, you have done some project on energy conservation. What have you done to conserve energy in your own house?
Yes, sir.
What measures have you taken?
So the first measure is to change the lighting system of the homes to LEDs and CFLs. No other type of lamps have been used in my home. And in the...
Your DRDO main office is a huge building. It's a mammoth building with huge rooms, huge conference halls. So in winters, heaters are on. In summers, ACs are on. Without affecting the efficiency and comfort level of the people working there, how will you reduce the consumption of energy? Lights, power.
Without turning off the equipment.
Without putting people to discomfort, that I'm not feeling cold, you switched off. I'm feeling warm, you switched off the AC. I'm feeling cold because you've not switched on the heater.
Sir, there are lots of technological advances that are being made. For example, AI is starting in lighting system as well, where we can actually automatize the lighting system.
Okay, forget technology. I am simply saying common sense. All right, think it over. You'll find an answer. Or you can ask me later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So Vaishali, we will take you back to the waiting room for a while. Just wait there. We'll call you quite quickly to give the feedback to you. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right. So Vaishali, tell us, how do you think you figured at the mock interview?
So I think I need to prepare more on some current affairs and international relations.
Okay, all right. So first of all, let me tell you things for which you should be happy about, your strengths. Very confident, chose the right words. You were able to rationalize the question, come out with very rational answers, objective in your answers. You could think while sitting there on the chair, which again is a very important thing because instantly one has to take a decision. Clear, concise, and lot of clarity in your thought. You were having a good knowledge of the subject, and also about the hobbies, And particularly, I would compliment you regarding your knowledge about mathematics, which you came out very well in terms of various questions which were asked to you. So well articulated, but at the same time, very calm and humble. And mental alertness was definitely there. At no point of time did we find that you were trying to bluff or you were nervous. In fact, you came out very well. Eye contact was there. Scan would be slightly more necessary, scanning the entire board once in a while, just to have. The only one thing which I would like to say, everything is perfect. You must bring more force, and you were very, very defensive while you entering the room also and going back also with your head down. You don't have to do that. You have to keep the chin up, head in front, and you have to display a positive attitude, a very confident attitude. So when you enter, have this feeling that yes, this time I'm going to make it, and because your answers are very good, but slightly more force would do a lot of good to you. Okay. Now coming to specific things, your answers on mathematics which you gave, what exactly mathematics has given or is going to give or is going to contribute, very good answers. And then regarding energy conservation also, and then you talked about many hobbies and some of the achievements, very good. We talked about DRDO, the place where you are working right now. Will you be taking leave for appearing at the interview, or you will continue to attend office?
So I am currently attending office, but I will take around 1 week or 2 weeks.
So when is your interview?
So its schedule has not come yet.
So after March 10th or so. So you have sufficient time. So there are three things on which normally people are judged. One is whether they are rational, the other is whether they are ethical, and third whether they are secular. So the ethical questions may be thrown at you, many ethical questions. If you are the collector of a district and there is a situation, how will you react to that? Okay. So you have to balance those things, because there is a law, there are values, and there is a conscience. You will remain always on the right side. All your answers must be indicative of the fact that you remain ethical. You never follow a more practical solution which may be there, but it may not be desirable for a civil servant. You understand what I am trying to say?
Yes, sir.
That if you have to display, you have to display honesty, integrity, transparency, accountability, all those things. Whenever you give answers, give examples in support of your answers. Whenever you are asked questions, always try to prioritize your answers. So the most important part of your answer should come first, then less important and less important. At the same time, you remember this thing that 25 minutes will be given to you. You have to come out with your best in that particular thing. So whenever questions are asked on different topics, don't give very long answers. Your answers here were very concise, to the point, and that is one a very, very positive aspect of your personality. So taking everything, I think overall you have done exceedingly well in this mock interview. But things, mundane things which may be asked to you, the National Mathematics Day, who was the Prime Minister who announced this National Mathematics Day, who was the scientist in whose name it is there, all these things you would be knowing. Theory of numbers, simple questions may be sometime asked, what is an integer, what is a natural number? You have to know that also, okay? And remember that famous incident between Hardy and Ramanujan when he was in a hospital and so on. Then coming to some of the other areas, since you belong to Delhi, and Delhi's the entire facts and figures about Delhi, the historical background, okay, even the spat between the Delhi government and the lieutenant governor, such questions may come. Then the social problems which are there in some of the villages, because it has an effect from Haryana, you see. Then the fact that odd even cars, for example, how to bring down the environmental degradation, gas becoming a gas chamber. So, and the role of judiciary intervention, in bringing down the pollution levels, the green tribunal, all those things, Delhi. Then about the industries which are there, the important things like infrastructure which is there, tourism potential, anything about Delhi you must know. Now coming to some of the specific questions, I would like to mention particularly that you must have a very good knowledge about the public policies of the government. So present government. At no point of time should you give an answer which goes against the official line taken by the government. If there is a controversial which can invite both types of answers, because there will be people in favor and in against, you may give the pros and cons, like it can be in the case of demonetization or Central Vista or Ayodhya and hijab. Wherever it is backed by a court order, you spell out what the court order is, so that there is no supplementary question on that. And if there is no court order and there is a controversial subject, try to follow the official line. Do not go. Reservation, don't start criticizing reservation. Or for that matter, even though one may have different views, personal views about many of the aspects, but here is not the time to take risk. So public policy making process, what are the different stages through which a civil servant passes? The 6 steps, I'm sure you are aware about them. Problem identification, agenda setting, policy formulation, policy legitimization, policy implementation and policy evaluation. Okay. Then the entire election process, go through that election process, and the role of some of the important institutions like Election Commission of India, Reserve Bank of India, and institutions like CVC, CAG, CBI, these institutions. Privatization of the government institutions, again a controversial area. You have to, some people will say that we are selling the family silver. Some people will say no, there is more funds are needed, and for that we need to sell off some of these profitability. Then question about judicial activism, overreach, which we are seeing. About the constitution, a question was, I think you gave the Article 32 as the answer, which is a very good answer, because that is the most powerful article in the constitution, which provides remedies to the people. So read the constitution from the beginning to the end, so that any question you will be able to field in. Whether it is civil services, whether it is president, whether it is Lok Sabha, Raj Sabha and so on, impeachment, everything. Then coming to some other issues, corruption. So corruption is all pervading. They may ask you, well, how will you bring down the corruption once you get posted as a civil servant? What will you do to improve the condition of women in the society? Also children, senior citizens, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and so on. Then you must also pay attention to the institutions which are international in nature, which are the United Nations institutions, what role they are playing in modifying or modeling the policies of the various governments, various states. Okay, so they play a very important part. WHO play a very important part in making the COVID policy of this country. They may even ask you whether lockdown was it a good step or not step. You have to balance your answer. You see. So then schemes like Swamitwa, these are one of the important schemes. E-governance and terms like vaccine diplomacy and vaccine passport things. So general knowledge you have to prepare on everything. International level, the international scenario as it is emerging, the global problems, problem of poverty, problem of terrorism, problem of drugs, problem of climate change, environment, climate change, prepare it very well. What effects you can see in the climate as a result of the global warming, so 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees, COP27, everything. Then some of the other things which I would like to mention, role of collector and what happens in a district at the grassroots level institutions. So the Panchayat Samiti, that is the block, and the Zilla Parishad and urban local bodies. Role of collector regarding revenue department, law and order situation, coordination between various departments, developmental activity, election process, public policies. Okay. Then coming to the sports policy, why small states are doing so well in sports, big states are not doing. What change do you think should be brought about in the public policy? Reservation of women, again it's an area. Atrocities on women, you must understand which are the acts which are there in order to stop that atrocities. Domestic Violence Act and everything, you should know the specific section. A hypothetical question may be asked to you that supposing old parents, they come to you and they say that they have been evicted by their son. What remedy can you provide to them as collector? And then of course certain things regarding the values which you need to preserve while in civil service, because it is after all a service and not really a job. So the values of integrity, which are the most essential, integrity, honesty. Then comes others, leadership qualities and team building and transparency. Must study very well and give adequate example for that also. Then the 3 farm laws which recently have, what was the problem in the 3 farm laws? Why did it had to be withdrawn? Because one important aspect of good governance, that was consensus building and participatory approach, was not met. Institutions like NATO and Quad and so many international regional groups and G20, you must study the world. India and its neighbors. Why should India care for its neighbors? Sri Lanka, Myanmar, or Nepal, or Bhutan, and so on. And then at the same time, I would also like to mention some of the things like labor code is there. And another thing which I would like to mention is that some of the typical terms, sometimes we ask them questions, nationalism versus patriotism. You know, these things have become a buzzword nowadays, that one should be nationalist and so on. Terms like mob lynching, again, this is an ethic area. Pesa, Kara, you see, these are the terms. I'm sure you are aware about the adoption of the children. CSR, corporate governance, why ethics are important for a public servant. Then the economy of this country. Since you will be appearing at the interview when budget would have already been announced, go through the budget very carefully. Economic survey of India, the GST, the collections. What are the sources of revenue of central government and the state government? Then emergency, when it can be declared, role of the governor. You see, all these things are important, which you should read through. And then last thing, of course, the federal feature of our constitution, and what are the different areas where you feel that it is working, federal structure, where you think that it is not probably working, whether GST is a step against the federalism and so on. And then 3 things which attract you to the civil service. Sometimes this question is also asked. And lastly, the effect of the multinational corporations, which is being felt nowadays in the policy making of this country. And then of course the things which you have written in your drafts, all of those things will definitely find place in your interview. So if there are any other questions, if you want to ask any question, you can ask us.
So one question in the end that sir asked me about the lighting issue.
Yeah, this is actually a practical experience of Japanese, in the corporate, what happens is everybody comes suited, booted, even in summers, right? So you need a whole lot of ACs. So they permitted them to start coming in the office in shirts. So you remove the coat, therefore your requirement of ACs reduces. This has actually happened,
And vice versa also.
Vice versa.
In case of winter, bring
Extra.
sweaters and jerkins and wind cheaters, so that the heat requirement of heater is reduced. One more thing which I will like to advise you, Sajid. In the end, the last question that is asked to you, try to answer that question beautifully, because that is going to be the last, parting shot. So try to, give the best answer to that. Your all answers were very good, in fact. And supposing sometimes they ask you a question that any other area you would like us to ask, sometimes they do ask any particular thing which you have prepared, which you have not asked. So in case you have done your interview very well, then you don't have to volunteer for that, because you do not know what kind of question you do. And if you have not answered the last question very correctly, or you think that it can be improvisation was possible, then you can take that opportunity also. Okay?
You would wear a sari on that day?
What is the dress that you will be wearing on that day?
So since the schedule hasn't come yet, I haven't bought anything yet. So
No. The dress, general, what are you planning to wear on that day interview?
So I was planning for a suit.
Well, whereas there is a complete freedom regarding your dress, there is nothing against wearing anything, but it is always prudent for the female candidates to wear a sari, not for any other reason, but for the fact that why should one leave an opportunity for some panelists to take offense to it, you see. Sometimes it may. So why do you give an opportunity? The suggestion is this, though from our side there is no such thing like mandatory, but wearing a sari is generally considered to be very, very graceful, and almost every female candidate who appears wears a sari. But this is not to say that you do not have a freedom. Try to think about it. If you feel convinced about wearing a sari, it will be a very good thing. But even, yeah.
Sorry, on
Yeah.
earlier interviews, have you had any earlier interview with the UPSC?
No, ma'am.
No, okay. So you don't have any experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
And remember one thing, you'll be asked to wait in a room. So there will be a lot of newspapers there. Read through the newspapers before entering the room also, so that you know what exactly is the current news of that particular day. So just a little thing which I said, that have more confidence. You don't have to walk with your head, down.
Down.
Should be straightened up. That will bring lot of forcefulness in your answers, because your answers are very precise. Choice of words is very good. You can think while sitting there. All positive things are there. We do expect that you will do exceedingly well. Of course, everything will depend on your written paper also.
Yes.
But this is the 5th chance, no?
Yes, sir.
So definitely we'll like to see you as a civil servant this time. You will get selected.
Thank you, sir.
All the best to you.
Thank you so much.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.